So I managed to fit this top plank on. So as you can see, I drilled and countersunk all of the holes on this top plank. And now it's all fitted along the top of these vertical pieces. This is basically what it's going to look like when it's up. Fortunately, I do have those clamps and everything's being held in place. So I just need to drill holes and screw them together. So as you can see here, it's about a 1/16 inch gap just at the top of this one post. The other ones are completely flush down there, so they all fit perfectly. But this is the one, if you remember the last video, I was just slightly off when I was attaching it, and it's still slightly off here. That's okay, it won't ultimately matter. Once I fit this piece here, which is gonna go connect to the back of the table, you won't even be able to see it. You can also see just how straight this piece of wood is. Not very. This will all get forced into shape when I start adding the other planks and once I get it fitted against the wall. Well, here is the front for the new countertop. It's looking pretty good, I think. No major issues so far. It's already getting kind of late though. I had to work late again today. Just even this little bit of progress is going to help out a lot. I'm hoping I can get this done by the end of the week on my days off. If not, it's going to be really close. I wasn't really able to accomplish a whole lot yesterday on the build, but it's my day off finally, and I think I can finish this table today. I discovered I have a slight problem here. So notice how this is flush with the 2x4 here at the end? So it's not supposed to be like that. The drawings I made, they clearly show that that cross piece intersects there, so there should be a 3/4 inch overhang on that piece. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is move this piece right here to the other side of the 2x4s. That should solve that problem. I'm gonna have the same problem up the top as well, so that's gonna have to go and move to the other side of the 2x4s as well. It's not gonna look as nice, but it's up against that piece of plywood over there, so you won't actually be able to see it once it's done. As it turns out, the way I had it drawn originally wouldn't have been possible to build because I don't have enough space to move the table out through the door or anything. So it's actually a really lucky mistake that I made. I have the 4 cross members cut out, all the parts for the frame. I cut down one of those vertical 2x4 supports so it fits over the wheel well. Now it's time to start assembling the back side of the table. Because I'm at a campsite, I'm going to actually try and fire up my generator. I might be able to run my AC if I can do that. It'd be good because it's kind of hot in here. As you can hear, my drill actually works now. Judging by the way the generator sounds, it does draw a fair amount of power, so that's probably why it wasn't working well off the inverter. It's probably just trying to draw too much power, and the inverter was just cutting it off. So I can actually drill holes with power now. Number 1 screwed on and number 2 screwed on. Okay, so I have the table positioned pretty much in place so you can see how it'll look. It's not perfectly straight in there, so it's going to take a little tinkering. That must have been a bad screw for it to break off in a pre-drilled and countersunk hole. This entire frame basically in place. It's still missing a couple of cross pieces. There should be one here and another one in the middle here, but they're not necessary to keep things in shape. The only problem I'm having is this area over here, this rectangle here, isn't quite square unless I put this clamp here and force it to be in shape. That should be fixed once I start getting the tabletop installed, but for right now I'm just going to have to use that clamp. This little square on the end here is extremely square, and I shouldn't have any problems down there. I was just pulling up all the boards off the floor so that I can actually have a space to work and just throwing them on the table temporarily. So this is basically what it's going to end up looking like once it's done. It'll be a little bit more even since these are just kind of floating here, not screwed down. The only thing is this board here is very not straight. So I have other uses for it, but I'm gonna have to take this one out and make sure I don't use that for the countertop because that would be tricky to get to work. So all the parts of the shelf are cut. So that's just the cross piece to hold up the shelf. And this is the base of the shelf right there. That over there is the other support on the other end. And there's one extra of these so I can use it on the end to stop things from falling off. Kind of like what you see up there. That is also a 1x4. I finally have all the pieces cut for the tabletop. So here you can see what it looks like. For the most part, it turned out really well. You can see some of these ends are probably gonna have to be sanded. You're not really supposed to use the ends that they cut anyways, but I am. They need to be sanded down anyways, so I'm not too worried about it. If you look at it from the top, you can see some of them, they have a little bit of a gap between the planks. You can see like down here. And you can kind of shift it around, but they never completely go away. What usually happens when you cut a piece of wood like this, especially these cheap pieces of wood, it will relieve some of the stress and some of the fibers, and so it'll start bowing the wood a little bit. And that's mostly what's happened here. They all fit together perfectly when they were cut from the factory, but once I cut them down, then they don't quite all fit properly. I think I can compensate for this just when I screw it down, but it could be that there are small gaps. Realistically, this isn't super high quality wood anyway, so they're going to probably warp and twist a little bit depending on the humidity. So there's probably always going to be a little bit of minor fitment issues, but I think that just kind of adds to the character. Other thing you might notice right here on the end doesn't quite meet up with the bulkhead there, and that's because this 2x4 support isn't quite straight. I don't think I'm going to be able to fix that until I screw this into the bulkhead. And once it's attached to the bulkhead, it should be completely straight. I also have this giant pile of leftover lumber, and I actually have a project that I'm probably going to use that for. That's going to come up here fairly soon, in a couple weeks. I don't think I can get much more done today without firing up the generator, and it's getting late enough and I have some editing to do. But all the parts are cut, so tomorrow it's just going to be drilling, screwing, and getting this table assembled completely. I also have a lot of cleaning to do, but the good news is everything is accessible now, so it's easier to clean. It's just so much more room. I can fit both my toilet and the water easily in this area, and there's just going to be so much more storage room under there. Notice that there's no cutout for a sink or anything like that. That's because I just don't know what I'm doing for a sink yet. The sink I've been using hasn't been usable anyways, so this isn't going to be a huge difference. I was thinking about at least temporarily getting a portable sink. Most of the time when I'm using a sink, it's because I'm doing dishes or something like that. I don't really want to be carrying around gray water with me all over the place. I usually only use a sink when I have a place to dump the water immediately anyways, so I might just go without a sink and just see how it goes for a while.